The Animals in Society Discovery Term has had an eventful 2 weeks. We traveled around the state and learned not just about the animals we saw and their unique characteristics, but also discovered several trends of animals in society that are apparent across many sites that we visited.
Among these trends, we identified 3 primary points of focus relating to the treatment of tame, wild, and domesticated animals by humans. Our first point of focus was the purpose of keeping animals in captivity. To begin, we traveled to the Museum of Natural Sciences and explored the underlying purpose of educating the public on animals in captivity.
So we have 2 populations of animals. One is a lot like a zoo collection that are on exhibit. But then we have this other collection that's an ambassador animal collection or more of a teaching collection. And those animals, they're managed as a totally separate collection with different pressures and different concerns and health issues that impact them. And so this is kind of the hub of operation for all the medical management.
But working with these exotic animals is not always easy.
Because the species we work with are kind of unusual, they're animals that a lot of people haven't done a lot of the procedures and practiced medicine and sort of worked with these species. There's not a lot of written or published information for us to work from, and so a lot of times we're kind of on the edge of knowledge and abilities with these things.
After learning about how education plays a role in the publicity of animals from Dr. Dabrowski, we spoke to Mrs. Crow, a CA parent, and her pup Jazz about the purpose of kind therapy dogs like her own to provide emotional support.
So any dog can be an emotional support dog. The dogs don't have to be trained. It's the person has diabetes or they get panic attacks or anxiety and the dogs calm them. A therapy dog doesn't have to have a special certification and a test. Basically, he has to be a safe dog, a kind dog, people-friendly, and not reactive to things. The service dogs, those are the big guns you see at the ones that open doors, they'll get you the bottle of water, those sorts of things, and he is not certified for that.
Keeping animals in captivity also requires a lot of work in order to maintain the animals' natural environments and behaviors. This leads us to our second point of focus, the infrastructure needed to care for animals. This is exemplified at the Duke Lemur Center, where the staff members keep their animals stimulated through enrichment.
Enrichment is a huge part of husbandry, especially for primates. Primates have big brains, but every species needs some kind of enrichment. So we have a lot of different cool kinds of enrichment here. Enrichment can take a lot of different forms. We try to appeal to all 5 senses. New things, right? You don't want to play with the same old toy over and over again. You can see that in toddlers, right? They want something new, they want the new thing. Social interaction, whether that's from other lemurs or in some places from keepers. Food, different kinds of food. Puzzles, things that exercise the brain, and of course, environmental structures. This picture is of a couple of black and white rough lemurs doing a painting enrichment activity where they use a non-toxic finger paint. Enrichment can be really simple. Sometimes just something new and interesting to play with is super fun for a lemur.
The keepers at the North Carolina Zoo similarly provide enrichment for their highly intelligent pack of gorillas.
So for gorillas, a lot of the stuff that we do, like right now today they have those bobbins in there, and that's just something for them to toss around and play with. They come up with their own ways to use things. Like we have different goals that we strive for every day for them. When we put something in, we want to see a specific behavior for that. Tool use, object manipulation, a lot of foraging as well, because we really want these guys to move around and find their food more similar to like they would in the wild.
At the Carolina Tiger Rescue, daily enrichment for their exotic cats is not only important for stimulating natural behavior, but also keeping them entertained to prevent compulsive behavior.
Each and every cat that we have here gets enrichment every day because boredom spells trouble. We'll take a box, fill it with tissue paper and spray it with perfume or cologne or a spice. Close it up and put it in there. Or just big boxes or the balls. See the ball? That's for them. Stuff to climb on, all of that.
Enrichment at the Conservator Center is geared towards problem solving during feeding to stimulate cognitive abilities.
Cats, we usually provide them one thing a day, and it could be any one thing. So like the fact that I'm providing them scent or toys, items for them to directly interact with, or we do a lot of what's called contra freeload feeding, which is a fancy word for saying puzzle fed. So instead of feeding them out of a bowl, hiding it in the enclosure or putting it inside is something that they have to figure out. Any opportunity for them to have to problem solve to obtain food is what we've found, researchers have found, is actually their preference. So it's psychologically more satisfying for them to have to work for it.
When visiting Alpaca Dreams, an alpaca farm in Franklin County, we saw another component of infrastructure, required physical space.
You could put 6 or 8 on an acre. But then if you had girls, you'd have to have 2 different acres and cut those in half. 2 for the girls over there, and we got 4 for the boys over here.
An enclosure here is a minimum of half an acre, okay, for one tiger. Okay, now, if there's more than one animal in there, we're going to increase that by 50%.
Keeping animals enclosed in an environment such as the conservator center can sometimes alter natural social structures.
Here, we only have 2 females paired. They were part of a pride that we called mixed pride. There was a male lion that kind of was the boss, and there was also a male tiger in this space that all of the animals seemed very comfortable with at the time. When the male lion had passed away, we noticed a big shift. All of a sudden the females were like, oh wait, you're a tiger, you gotta go. And we saw the behavioral change. We relocated the tiger as soon as possible.
But too much human involvement can have detrimental effects. This brings us to our third point of focus, the pet trade and unlawful possession of certain wild animals when they are not necessarily desensitized.
There's a huge difference between desensitizing and domesticating an animal. So our cats and dogs have been domesticated. It has taken thousands of selective breeding and just the real evolutionary time to get them to be our friend, to get them to care about us and to be in our spaces. Whereas these guys, any animal that's here in our park, they're desensitized to their handlers, they're desensitized to the keepers, and they're desensitized to being in captivity, which just means a lot of the stimulus here no longer scares them or no longer makes them feel uncomfortable. But that does not mean that they are a friend. They're always wild animals, and that makes them unpredictable. People think of dogs as canids in general, and especially a canid of this size, as being, easy enough that you could train or desensitize or get them used to living in your home. At that point, you're just talking nature versus nurture. So their nature says to be a certain way, and you could nurture them and get them, again, accustomed to you and desensitized to handlers, but it's just a different vibe.
People who have these animals to make money, like, if you pay me, I'll let you pet the tiger cub, okay? If you pay me money, okay, I'll let you have your picture taken with the tiger cub. But after 6 months, the tiger can hurt you without even trying. So now, as the owner of this business, your asset has now become a liability. You have to get rid of it, and then you have to get another one. That's exactly the chain we're trying to break. If you happen to stop at one of these places, just think about this. Within a few months, the animal's probably dead.
But this affects much more than the individual. The inbreeding of white tigers with pure pecuniary intent and disregard to help has had long-term effects on the population of tigers as a whole.
All white tigers are descended from one, captured in India in 1951. The cub, Mohan was his name. His owner said, this is just the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my life, and I want more because they're so rare and so beautiful. They're all inbred, okay? And the whole idea is to get the white tiger. Here's the unfortunate part. You don't get to pick a birth defect. You might get a white tiger, but your white tiger might be blind. Your white tiger might be deaf. You might have a physical deformity, okay? It's a crapshoot. And these people that are breeding them, you think they're doing it for the fun of it? No, they're not. They're doing it to have something to sell. And unless the animal is near perfect, it's going to be discarded. Because they're not going to spend money on it to keep it alive if they're not going to make any money from it. It's that cold. Okay? Out of about 30 white tigers that are born, only one is show grade, perfect. And the rest find their way probably to a short, unhappy life.
But it's certainly not always a short and unhappy life. There have been many strides made towards animal welfare, research, and public knowledge, and we know that it will continue on for future generations.